Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are going to tackle one of the biggest headaches in web automation, elements that just refuse to sit still. We're going to dive into 4 incredibly powerful CSS pseudo-classes that will let you write automation scripts that are, well, pretty much unbreakable. So let me ask you this. Does this sound familiar? You write a perfect test. It runs, it passes, and then an hour later you run it again and bam, it fails. The element's gone or its idea is completely different. It's a classic problem, and it is so frustrating. I mean, this is the nightmare scenario we have all lived through, right? You try to target an element, but its attributes are dynamic. They're generated on the fly, and they're different every single time the page loads. Your normal selectors become totally unreliable, and just trying to maintain your test suite becomes this massive chore. But the good news is there is a super elegant built-in solution that lets you just sidestep all those fragile attributes completely. It's called CSS pseudo-classes, and they are absolutely the key to taming these wild dynamic web elements. Okay, so what is a CSS pseudo-class, really? Well, it's just a special keyword you tack onto your selector. But here's the key. It doesn't look for an attribute like an ID or a class name. Instead, it looks for the element's state, or more importantly for us, its position relative to its siblings. And this is it. This is our entire toolkit for today. Just these 4 keywords. It looks simple, I know, but trust me, together they give us the power to select elements based on their position in a list, which is exactly what we need to solve our problem. All right, let's start with the 2 most direct selectors in our toolkit. Think of these as your go-to when you need to grab the very first thing or the very last thing in a list. No ambiguity, no questions asked. So to make this really concrete, let's just picture a standard drop-down menu on a website. You've got the main select box, right? And then nested inside are all the little option elements you can choose from. We'll use this simple setup for the next couple of examples. So if you need to grab that very first option in the dropdown, you use .firstChild. This selector is basically you telling the browser, hey, find that select element and just give me its first child. I literally do not care what its ID or class is. It's direct and it's incredibly reliable. And as you can probably guess, last child does the exact same thing, but in reverse. It's an equally solid way to target that final element in a list. So if some new option gets added to the bottom of the dropdown tomorrow, this selector, it's still going to find it. Okay, so selecting the first and last is super useful. But what about, everything in between? This is where it gets really, really powerful. How do you grab, say, the 4th item in that list when it has no stable ID? For that, we use nth child. Now, the n here is just a placeholder for whatever number you want. If you need the 4th item, you just write nth child 4. It's that simple. It's a direct way to select an element by its position, counting from the top. But what if you need to count from the end of the list? Well, that's where nth last child n comes in. It does the same thing, just backwards. So nth last child 2 doesn't get you the 2nd item, it gets you the second to last item. This is so perfect for when you need to work from the bottom up. So here it is, side by side. The crucial difference is just your starting point. Are you counting from the top down with nth child, or are you counting from the bottom up with nth last child? Just making that simple choice gives you an incredible amount of flexibility. So let's be really clear about this. This is way more than just a clever CSS trick. Seriously, mastering these positional selectors is a fundamental skill that will completely transform how you approach web automation. It's a total game changer. So what this really means for you is you can finally write selectors that don't break just because a developer changed an ID. You can go after complex web elements with confidence, knowing your positional selectors are rock solid. And as a bonus, your code becomes cleaner, much more readable, and way easier to maintain in the long run. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Now that you have a way to build far more reliable, far more robust automations, what new possibilities does that open up for you and for your projects? What are you going to build?